Hello, I'm Dionne. Welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be creating continuous line portraits. Now these aren't going to be any old portraits, these are going to be portraits that also include words. So I'm going to get you firstly to think of who you're going to draw. So these are your options. It could be you, it could be a character from your favourite book, or it could be one of your favourite people. Now I'm going to go for a character out of one of my favourite books. Now, once you've thought of that character or person or yourself, I'm going to get you to sit next to the person that you're with and start describing that person. So think about all the words that really capture who they are. So I'm going to have a think, and I'm going to go for Matilda from the Roald Dahl book. And I'm going to think of all the words that really describe her. So I'm going to sit and have a really good think and start listing them in my mind, and then we're going to start our drawing. Now this is called a continuous line drawing for just that reason. Your pen cannot leave the surface of the paper. So once it's on there, it can't leave. So I'm going to start off with Matilda. I'm thinking of the words as well because I'm going to actually include them in my picture. So I'm going to start off with Matilda's eyes. So I'm going to give her some eyes. I'm going to give her an eyeball all the time. My pen, my oil pastel cannot leave the surface of the paper. I'm going to give her a nose. There's the nose. And I'm going to give her this eye. I'm going to give her an eyebrow as well. There we go. And some eyelashes. And then I'm going to start thinking about her mouth and thinking about if she's smiling or if she's quite serious. Now Matilda in the story, right at the end, she's really happy. So I'm going to have a happy Matilda in mind. And I'm going to start thinking about those words because actually I'm going to start including them. So I'm just going up to the side of her face. So you're going to have lines everywhere and you need these lines. So don't worry if you're adding lots of lines to get from the mouth up to the eye. That's fine because actually you'll see why shortly. So, and equally if you don't want too many lines, you can always go back on your lines to get somewhere. But I'm going to add in the other eye now. So here's Matilda's other eye. All the time my oil pastel hasn't left the surface of the paper. And I've given you some other artists to look at, but this is quite a similar style to Picasso, if any of you are familiar with his work when it was more cubist, so that means everything was in blocks. So really embrace this. This isn't going to be a kind of realistic picture, a really realistic one. It's going to be more about the shapes that you start forming on the surface of your paper. Okay, now with those words in mind, I'm going to start adding some of those to my picture. So in the same way, I can't let my oil pastel leave the surface, so I've just put the word happy in there, and actually I'm going to make that part of her hair. And Matilda's got a fringe in my imagination, so I'm going to give her a fringe. And I'm also going to think about another word for her, so I'm going to give her the word clever in the other side. So we've got words. It might be that you want to put a word down the nose or across the cheek. It's your picture. As long as your oil pastel doesn't leave that surface, then just add things in however you like. But I'd like you to add at least 2 words into your picture. So here's my picture. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start adding blocks of colour. Now this is what I was saying, where we didn't need to worry about things being absolutely perfect. We need all of those nice sections of colour so that we can continue to add them in blocks. So wherever I've got a block, I'm going to add in some colour. And I'm going to go around the whole thing until I've filled up all of my spaces. And that includes my background. So I'm using quite a big paintbrush here so that I can work on those big areas. You might like to have a smaller paintbrush to hand as well for those trickier bits, but I'm just using this so that I can show you. So I'm going to start filling in all these nice shapes that I've created until I've filled up my whole piece of paper with colour. So I want it to be really, really colourful. So the hardest bit really is doing that continuous line drawing. That's quite tricky. And once you've done that, you can really enjoy adding in these nice blocks of colour. So as soon as I come to another block, I can change colours. When you get to your words, treat them as any shape. So wherever you see a shape, add a colour. As soon as it moves into another shape, then you can add a different colour. So with my happy here, I'm going to add colour on that side, and then I think I'll add a different colour in there. So once I've filled in all of those shapes, that's when I can then get a smaller paintbrush and use this with some black paint to really enjoy outlining those lines again, because they may have got a little lost as you've been adding your colours. So once you've added all of your colour, and if you don't have any paint, then you might like to use oil pastels or felt tip pens. This could work with any of those things, but it's basically a way of adding those nice kind of cubist approaches of nice big blocks of colour through this technique, and also really exploring that character that you'd like to capture in your painting.